Good morning, Kevin here. Where am I today? Well, I'm at St Mary's of Bepton, and it's the Parish Church of Bepton. And I'm just out here on a little lane that runs up to a farm just up there. Got this lovely old gateway in here. The way it's been formed out of the metal and the railings. Cynthia and Steve have actually gone on ahead of me. And as you enter this footpath going up to the church, you've got these lovely old yew trees up here. And there's 1, 2, 3 right by me, and a big oak tree just here in front. And I'll go up around this path. It's a tarmac footpath. And here we have St Mary's just in front of me, with the war memorial just there. First impressions are the east end is built of stone, and it's a mixture of flint and stone on the church itself. Here's the memorial. But just look at this view facing south from the church. South Downs in the distance. We've got a meadow just in front of the church here, and you can probably see this sheep in the field heading up towards the South Downs. Huge oak tree just here in front of me. Look at the size of this one. Absolutely massive. Let me come round to here, and this is the memorial here. It's 1418 war, just this one. If we go around the other side, I'm assuming it'll be... No, nothing there. Just 1418 more. Oh, and on this side, on the west side, 39 to 45. And possibly 2 brothers there, William and Percy Denyer. Well, I'm going to have a wander around the outside of the church, and I'm going to go sort of clockwise round it. But just in front of me, you've got this flint built part of the church, which was built between 1180 and 1185, and this was the original part of the church. And the huge buttress you see there was added in around about the 19th century, because the church had started to move and subside. And just near the top of this south side of the church, there are 2 cross-shaped tie bars and 1 smaller tie bar, which suggests it's tying the whole building together on this west end. But as you can see, we've got the brickwork there, left and right, and a little bit just above, and that's suggesting to me this is the original entrance to the church when it was built in the Norman era. As I say, it's a flint and stone built, stone rubble built church, and started with a tower on the site of the Saxon wooden church. So let me just have a wander up here, and another huge buttress there, and this is on the west end. And again, towards the top of the tower here, there's the cross tie bars, and then 1 horizontal one. And it's going to be very difficult for me to back away and keep the church in shot, because we've got trees all around here. But let me just show you around as we head up this path. And it used to be a car park for the church, but evidently it's been taken over by the farm, and they only allow people to use it when there is a service on or a function on. So I'm now onto the north side of the church. It's under a tiled roof, but the original Saxon one wouldn't have been. But as you can see, very much flint on this side, and then here we've got stone built, and this is a 19th century addition. The old Saxon building had been recorded in the Domesday Book of 1086, and the Saxon tub, the font, still remains at the church. Well, we'll have a look at that in a minute. When we first arrived at the car park, or where we parked the car, there's a plaque that says about a family that it seems they all died together, and we found the headstones, and this is it here. 5 members of one family, and it's the Nave family. David Nye was aged 36, and his wife Susan. Nee Copeland, aged 37, Sophie, aged 10, Susanna, aged 9, Kirsty, aged 6. They all died together on July the 16th, 1983. As Cynthia said just now, this is, in a way, this is quite a sad cemetery, because Steve and Cynthia found this one just now, and it's a little memorial pot in loving memory of Belinda, aged 3, Pip, aged 4, and Shane, aged 2 years. And the name is Mycroft Walker. Mycroft Walker. But there's no year, so we don't know the year of this. But just now I found a gravestone with twins on, that was the first sort of sad part, and then the other family we found up the top there, and then this one that Cynthia and Steve found. Yeah, well, cemeteries are not particularly very happy places anyway, are they? But you know, to find graves with so many just little babies on, it's terrible. Well, we're just about to head into the church now through the south porch, which was added in the 19th century, but was a vestry, and extensive renovation works to the chancel were also undertaken by the Victorians, commencing in 1878. Got a plaque there on the wall, and we're just going to go in through these rather solid looking doors with all this ironwork on them. So let's just have a look in here.
Right, are you enjoying your look around?
Yes, thank you.
No, not at all, not at all. Very good. Now, all the photographs and the Reredos, because I haven't figured out why it's here. As far as anyone can remember, this church is a sort of prayer book church, right? So 1662 every Sunday, nice 17th century language, and therefore quite Protestant, except that there's a coloured altar frontal, so there must have been some habit of wearing vestments and dressing up the church in liturgical colours once upon a time. And then, more surprisingly, the Reredos, which is sort of a Catholic artifact. And no one can tell me, and I found no evidence for when that was the case. So the most obvious hypothesis is that during the Oxford movement in the sort of middle 19th century, there must have been a priest who really liked the Catholic thing and then introduced things like vestments and the Reredos to the place, and it just got left there. And then not long after that, it probably took a swing toward the Protestant, and then that's when the 1662 prayer book habit kicked in. Something like that. Yeah.
But the roof is like an upturned hull of a boat, isn't it?
Right, which is a very medieval habit, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What I don't know is whether or not there's anything behind the white. So lots of urban churches had very kind of colourful painted.
They did.
Walls.
Yeah.
It's not always true in small rural churches, probably because of money. But I don't know whether or not that's whitewashed or whether or not it's always been plain. If you see what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's it looks to me as if it's some sort of possible emulsion, whitewash, but it would have been originally a whitewash paint that they used.
Right.
I'm an ex-painter and decorator,
Right.
so I do know a little bit.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's when they remove not so much the paint, the whitewash, but sometimes the render that they put on
Right.
can expose these things.
Right.
But the problem is, of course, if they start removing the render, it's going to pull off the artwork underneath, which is a shame.
Yeah.
But most of it is whitewashed over.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I'm told that there are now these like sort of X-ray-ish techniques that you can.
Yes,
kind of take
I believe there
photos
is.
and work it out.
Yeah.
But I don't know whether or not that will ever be done here.
Yeah.
It's not possible.
And how long have you been at St Mary's?
1 year.
Oh, you've only been here 1 year. Yeah.
So I'm very new. I'm very new to the parish. So it's 3 parishes and it covers 4 villages. So it's Cocking, West Lavington, Bepton, and Hayshot.
Right.
Bepton here and Cocking have been associated since the 1930s. I believe it's 1931. It's been one benefice.
Yeah.
So the old rectory next door to the church hasn't been a rectory since then.
Right.
It's been about 100 years since that's been a rectory. And since then the rectory's been in Cocking. So that's a 1930 build. And then about 10 years ago or so, Hayshot joined the benefice.
Right. Okay.
And around the same time, West Lavington lost its church, sadly. In a way, it never should have had a church, right? It was one of these excesses of Anglo-Catholic largesse. Some rich high churchman decided to build a church where there was no business being a church.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Because we did Cynthia and I did a walk around West Lavington
Right.
Church, and we did a video and it's up on the channel.
Right.
But of course it's got the links with Richard Cobden.
Yes, exactly.
And they got the I can't think of the word. The monument. Thank you.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
And so the churchyard is still open.
Yes.
So the churchyard is still mine, if you like. The building now, I have no access to. But the churchyard belongs to the benefice. And I think the part of the impetus to keep it going is because the Cobden Memorial is there. Yeah. And people still visit it and that sort of thing.
Up towards the altar on the left-hand side. Can we just wander up there?
Of course.
I noticed that the stonework is looks like flames coming out the top. And I wondered if you had any idea why that might be, because there's a headstone in the graveyard.
That looks like flames.
It's got flames on that as well.
I mean, that's bound to be not related because that is quite near.
Yeah.
Whereas this is bound to be medieval.
Yeah.
Usually flames are a sign of the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
And therefore the church, because there are various ways to describe when the church is born.
Yeah.
But one way is to say Pentecost is when the church is born. So you see the shape of the church, and then the tongues of flame attached to it.
Yeah.
Reminds you of a reading a passage in the Acts of the Apostles in which the Holy Spirit descends upon a gathering of people who are of the early church, and then tongues of flame descend upon their heads.
Okay.
So this is probably a version of that, where instead of tongues of flame on heads of people, you have tongues of flame on the church building.
Yeah.
Presumably containing people.
Yeah.
So that's probably what's going on there.
Yeah. For someone like myself, I would not have been able to put that sort of comment to that, but talking to you today just gives it a completely different meaning to someone like me.
Yeah. Yes. One of the great benefits of being a priest.
That's it.
Yeah. Yes.
And you've got these, and something I always like to look at is stained glass windows in churches.
Yeah. So this is likely, again, I'll have to check the history books, but this is likely to be to be medieval, even though the dates are obviously much earlier. Sorry, the medieval, Victorian, even though the dates on it are obviously from much earlier.
Yeah.
It seems very unlikely to me that the glass itself dates from the whatever that says in there. Can't read it from here.
Yeah. 1357 it looks like to me.
Right, so it seems unlikely to me that the glass itself is from the 14th century.
Yeah.
My guess is that
It's in memory of Edmund Sadler.
right.
I can see that on the bottom of the middle pane. And you've got the little piscina.
Little piscina.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
And what's this little shelf here? I've never seen a little shelf like that before.
Yeah, so not terribly uncommon actually. So that you know how they're often these side tables where you will put the bread and the wine before it's consecrated.
Yeah.
Right. So we call that the credence table, and so these little shelves would have been what precedes say a wooden credence table.
Okay.
So in some old churches you have this. In more modern churches there'll just be a freestanding wooden table to serve the same purpose.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And the piscinas are not always by the side of the altar. In this case it is, and in most old churches it is. But very often you also have piscinas in the vestry.
Yes, of course.
So in there.
Yeah.
And the point of the piscina is that the kind of appropriate and respectful way to dispose of say holy water is to not just to sort of chuck it out, but to pour it directly into consecrated ground.
Yeah.
So the piscina leads directly into the ground,
Okay.
Rather than going somewhere else.
Sure.
And so that's a kind of respectful way of disposing of say holy water.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, lovely. Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Not at all.
Oh, just in front of me we've got the tub font. I'm just going onto the west end of the church and underneath the bell tower, which is quite a plain looking tower really. 2 bell ropes there, and the whole church is got whitewashed walls. And a big arch, but most of the stonework's been covered in by the paint that they've used. There are 2 windows in the south wall of the chancel. The smaller, deeply splayed one, which I'm just going to try and find now, is towards the east end, which is this one here, and it's just above a piscina, which is just there. The longer lancet window is glazed with a flower pattern and has a text taken from Isaiah 35:1. The desert shall blossom as the rose. Just come up in towards the altar now, and there's the stained glass window again. Another one of the deep inset little windows, and we've found out a bit more about this. It's called the Easter Sepulchre. It consists of a scenic foiled arch inside a triangle labelled with finial, pierced trefoil and crockets. The hook-shaped projections on the label. There is an inscription along its base which commemorates the one Rada de la Helda, and that's just on the bottom there. On that looks like a bit of wood. But it's interesting how they've used all these little tiles in certain places in the church. Right. Just underneath the Easter Sepulchre is this. And this is Rado's ancient tombstone. It bears a large sword or cross and is a full 7 feet long. The question is why a giant with a Scandinavian name should be interned in Bepton, although the Norsemen were of course ancestors of the Normans. So rather interesting that's just there, and it's huge. well, when we were talking to the priest just now, he mentioned that there was a rumour that there is a mass grave in this cemetery from the Black Death. And Steve is reading a plaque inside with some information on, and it says it's between the south door and this oak tree just here, and it's on this mound. So we think between the south door and the oak tree, this mound just in front of us is where the mass grave is from as I say, the Black Death, the plague. And the priest did say he's going to be trying to do a bit more research into it, but as he said, he's only been here a year. One of the other things that we've that's mentioned to us and we've spotted now is this headstone here. Now I need to go around the other side to the back of the headstone to start reading this, and it says prisoner of war and an English, hang on, I've got to move around here slowly, English physio and a German prisoner of war, and it's Liebenschneier, Dorothy Irene, 8th of the 12th 1917 to the 12th of the 8th 1984, and Joachim, and he was obviously the prisoner of war, 8th of the 4th 1925 to the 3rd of the 9th 2015, and that's their headstone to their grave. We finished our walk round St Mary's of Bepton, the parish church of Bepton. It's the only one, isn't it?
It's the only one.
And we've been very lucky. We've spoken to the priest, who was very happy to be on camera, which was a real bonus for us. So we're going to head off now somewhere else. I need to be decided. Have you decided?
A coffee. It'll be a cafe.
Thank you, Cynthia. The right answer. Anyway, this will be Kevin, Cynthia, and Steve saying bye-bye, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye.
Where's that coffee? Hello, if you've enjoyed Kevin's video today, why not subscribe to his Kevin's Rambles YouTube channel, give us a like and follow us in the future, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks a lot, bye bye.